Can you imagine a Nazi so depraved and twisted that he made even his fellow Nazis sick to their stomachs?
This story goes beyond the chilling account of a ruthless psychopath, standing as a powerful testament to the appalling depths of human wickedness that surfaced during the Holocaust and World War II.
Hey, and welcome to today's episode. We're about to enter the disturbing world of Oskar Dirlewanger, a man whose unparalleled wickedness shocked even his fellow Nazis.
So, get ready to explore the sinister tale of one of the most horrifying figures in human history.
Part 1: Early Life and World War I.
On September 26, 1895, a seemingly ordinary child named Oskar Dirlewanger was born in Würzburg, Germany, to a middle-class family.
It was unimaginable that this innocent young boy would eventually transform into a horrifying monster.
Dirlewanger was raised in a well-respected family, and he received a good education. He went on to study political science and economics at the University of Würzburg and the University of Frankfurt. When World War I broke out, Dirlewanger eagerly joined the German army, serving in the 123rd Grenadier Regiment.
It was a German infantry unit that fought during World War I.
As part of the German army, the regiment was composed of infantry soldiers who participated in various battles and military engagements on the Western and Eastern fronts.
The regiment's primary function was to engage in ground combat and support other units as part of larger military operation.
But instead of being a model soldier, he displayed a fondness for violence and cruelty.
The shock experienced by his fellow soldiers upon witnessing his sadistic tendencies was beyond belief.
Dirlewanger didn't let his injuries hold him back either. In fact, he was injured multiple times during the war but still managed to receive awards.
He received the prestigious Iron Cross, both first and second class, for his service.
For a brief period, Dirlewanger commanded a machine gun company, demonstrating his tactical skills in the battlefield. His experiences during World War I served as a foundation for the brutal and sadistic behavior that would later define him during World War II and the Holocaust.
But what about his life after the war? Did he leave behind his dark side? If only that were the case. Part 2: The post-war years and ascending the ranks. How did Dirlewanger's life change after the war? Did he try to reintegrate into society and leave his violent past behind? Unfortunately, that's not the case. Following the war, Dirlewanger joined the Freikorps, a paramilitary group active in post-World War I Germany.
During this time, he participated in the suppression of various uprisings and rebellions, further fueling his brutal nature. In 1923, he became a member of the newly formed Nazi Party, becoming an early supporter of Adolf Hitler. As Dirlewanger rose through the ranks of the SS, he became increasingly involved in criminal activities. In 1934, he was convicted for illegal arms possession, and later, in 1937, he faced imprisonment for the sexual assault of a minor. It seemed like his past had finally caught up with him, but fate had other plans. While in prison, Dirlewanger's connections within the Nazi Party, particularly his friendship with Heinrich Himmler, played a crucial role in his release. He played a significant role in the implementation of the final solution, the Nazi plan to systematically murder millions of Jews, along with other targeted groups. Not only did he manage to walk free, but he was also given a position of power. He was appointed to lead a special SS unit, which would later come to be known as the infamous Dirlewanger Brigade. But just who were the men who served under Dirlewanger, and what kind of horrors did they unleash? Part 3: The Dirlewanger Brigade, a band of criminals turned soldiers. Once he was released, Dirlewanger was tasked with creating an unconventional unit that would hunt down partisans behind enemy lines. Initially, the Dirlewanger Brigade consisted of convicted poachers. Dirlewanger believed that their expertise in tracking and hunting would make them highly effective at guerrilla warfare. As the unit's missions grew in scope, the brigade expanded to include all sorts of criminals, such as murderers, rapists, and thieves. This motley crew of ruthless individuals soon became one of the most feared and reviled SS units of World War II. The Dirlewanger Brigade quickly gained a reputation for its extreme brutality, even by Nazi standards. They not only targeted partisans but also engaged in mass killings of civilians, including women and children. The sadistic practices they employed, such as torture and mutilation, were horrifying and shocking to both their enemies and their fellow Nazis.
In fact, some SS officers found the Dirlewanger Brigade's actions so appalling that they actively sought to distance themselves from the unit. As the Dirlewanger Brigade wreaked havoc across Eastern Europe, their notoriety only grew. They left a trail of destruction in their wake, burning villages to the ground and committing unspeakable acts of violence against innocent people. The unit's heinous crimes would eventually catch up with them, but not before they left an indelible mark on the terrifying chapter of human history. Part 4: Atrocities in Eastern Europe, the horrors unfold. Thus far, we have covered about how the Dirlewanger Brigade became a band of ruthless criminals under the command of Oskar Dirlewanger. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the unspeakable atrocities they committed in Eastern Europe. Can you imagine the sheer terror experienced by the people of Eastern Europe as the Dirlewanger Brigade unleashed its savagery? The unit was involved in countless war crimes, including mass murders, sexual violence, and the wholesale destruction of entire villages. They spared no one in their path, leaving a trail of death and devastation in their wake. Two of the most notorious events the Dirlewanger Brigade participated in were the suppression of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943 and the Warsaw Uprising in 1944. During these uprisings, the people of Warsaw courageously resisted Nazi occupation, only to face the full wrath of Dirlewanger's men. The brigade's brutal tactics, such as killing civilians indiscriminately and setting buildings on fire with people still trapped inside, made them a terror to behold. However, some of the other Nazis must have been disturbed by the Dirlewanger Brigade's actions? And you'd be right. Their barbarity was so extreme that it even shocked some SS officers, who were no strangers to brutality themselves. Yet, despite the repulsion felt by some of their comrades, the Dirlewanger Brigade continued their campaign of terror. Part 5: Downfall and Death, the End of a Monster. As we've seen, the Dirlewanger Brigade's reign of terror seemed almost unstoppable. However, the tide of the war eventually turned against the Nazis, and the unit was sent to fight on the Eastern Front. Can you imagine the desperation of these men as they began to realize that their cause was doomed? The end was near, and Oskar Dirlewanger, the monster who led this brutal unit, would finally meet his own gruesome fate. During the final months of the war, Dirlewanger was injured multiple times. Despite these injuries, he managed to avoid capture until June 1945, when he fell into the hands of French forces. But what happened to Dirlewanger once he was captured? Well, the story goes that he met a violent end at the hands of his captors. Dirlewanger was reportedly beaten to death by the guards who held him in custody, his life ending in a brutal manner not unlike the violence he had inflicted on so many innocent people. As we reach the end of our spine-chilling odyssey into the macabre life of Oskar Dirlewanger, let's pause to contemplate the atrocities he and his brigade unleashed and pledge to keep the lessons of history alive in our hearts and minds. If this episode left an indelible impression on you, please give us a like, share the video, and subscribe to our channel, where we continue to delve into the stories that demand our attention and remembrance.